Kabul was quite different, during the last years of Republic. We had these beautiful colors, beautiful life that were going on, and people were enjoying the little things and they were trying to make hope, and the thing is that it was the last evacuations, it was 8 p.m. and you had to stay till the tomorrow 5 a.m. and Taliban was just 10 minutes over there, and you couldn't trust anything. And I was confused at what should I do now?
Ja, das waren die Worte von Fatimah Hossaini. Fatimah ist eine Fotografin aus Afghanistan, geboren 1993, und mit ihr haben wir im Rahmen der Medientage des diesjährigen Festivals Lagassili Baden Foto gesprochen. Wir, das sind Ulrike Schumann und Thomas Pöhler vom Fotopodcast und Pia Parolin, die sich auch in unsere Runde gesellt hat. Also vielen Dank an die Unterstützung bei diesem Interview. Es hat viel Spaß gemacht, in dieser großen Runde mit Fatimah zu sprechen. Fatimah ist eine faszinierende Künstlerin, eine Fotografin, die sich in ihren Bildern für die Rechte der Frauen einsetzt in ihrem Heimatland Afghanistan, und über sie und ihre Arbeit heißt es im Festivalkatalog Hinter dem Schleier. Am 15. August 2021 kehrten die Taliban nach Kabul zurück, nachdem sie 20 Jahre zuvor von der Macht verdrängt worden waren. Seitdem herrschen die Extremisten erneut mit eiserner Hand über Afghanistan. In sämtlichen Teilen der Gesellschaft gilt wieder das islamische Recht. Die ersten Opfer sind die Frauen, die sich nun wieder hinter der Burka verstecken müssen und deren Freiheiten mit Füßen getreten werden. Die heute 28-jährige Fatimah Hossaini musste ihr Land verlassen und fand Zuflucht in Frankreich. Retten konnte sie nur ihre kostbaren Fotografien, die eine leidenschaftliche Hommage an die einzigartige Schönheit der afghanischen Frauen darstellen. Diese haben nur selten die Möglichkeit, sich frei auszudrücken, treffen im Alltag auf Hindernisse, in denen die ganze Last des kulturellen Erbes zutage tritt, und stehen vor schwerwiegenden Herausforderungen. In Zeiten, in denen, wie der Schriftsteller Yasmina Kadara sagt, die Menschen verrückt geworden sind, sich vom Licht abkehren und der Finsternis zuwenden, darf das Schicksal dieser Frauen nicht vergessen werden. Ja, und genau das möchte Fatimah mit ihren Bildern erreichen, dass das Schicksal der Frauen nicht vergessen wird. Sie zeigt die Schönheit, sie zeigt die Kraft dieser Frauen, die sich jetzt diesen großen Herausforderungen wieder gegenüber sehen, und ihre eigene Geschichte ist ebenso faszinierend. Sie erzählt über die dramatischen Stunden ihrer Flucht aus Kabul, nachdem die Taliban dort wieder einmarschiert waren, und es ist insgesamt ein wirklich bewegendes Gespräch geworden, und wir waren alle beeindruckt hinterher von der Kraft, von der Ausstrahlung dieser Fotografin, und wir hoffen, dass das in diesem Interview auch rüberkommt. Ja, die Ausstellung in Baden ist leider nicht mehr zu sehen. Ich verlinke aber Fatimahs Webseite und ihr Instagram-Profil. Da gibt es jede Menge Bilder, die du dir anschauen kannst, um einen Eindruck von ihrer Arbeit zu bekommen. So, jetzt ohne weitere Umschweife, lass uns direkt einsteigen in das Interview mit Fatimah Hossaini. Viel Spaß!
Ja, hallo, wir sind hier in großer Runde und haben eine interessante Gesprächspartnerin, Fatimah Hossaini, und wir sind in großer Runde. Die Pia Parolin ist dabei, der Kai Beermann, natürlich die Ulrike, Thomas B. Jones hinter den Kulissen und ich, der Thomas. Okay, jetzt auf Englisch. So, hi, we are here in a big group with an interesting guest, Fatimah Hossaini, Afghanian photographer. We're together with Pia Parolin, Kai Beermann, Ulrike Schumann, Thomas B. Jones, and myself. So hello, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Yesterday we went through the total exhibition here, and we also saw your images, which for us we went the day before, and we resonated very much with your images. So they are really strong images. Could you tell us about the series you were showing here?
Yes, sure. Actually, the photos that you see here in Baden, it's a series that I captured since 2018 in Afghanistan. And The Beauty Amid War, that is the title, is a project that it's from bottom of my heart, as I am also an Afghan woman who was born in Iran, far from home. But I decided to go back to Afghanistan in 2018. And before that, since 2015, I was between Tehran and Kabul. But this is a project that just breaks this cliche of dark images of women of Afghanistan, like this burqa restrictions, a husband cut the nose of a wife, or like whatever you see in the cover of many magazines. And during this past, I can say 4 decades, whatever have been shown from women from Afghanistan is all about these dark images. But whatever I discovered, not just as an Afghan woman, but as a woman who just were far also from that country, this light, this hope, and this resistance, and this resilience, and this hidden kind of femininity that still exists inside the country, during the Republic. So it's very, very, very emotional project for me as well, because I left Afghanistan and my everything behind once Taliban took over. And it's kind of an unfinished project that you see here, because I even didn't find the time to finish my project, and all these women also left Afghanistan.
So I think it's a project that you say it's unfinished, but you're not able to continue it now with Afghan women. Of course not.
Of course I did, The thing is that the last 5 photos that I wanted to shoot, and I remember the last shoot I had was on 8th of August, and then I just organized another photo shoot on 16th of August, that I didn't know on 15th of August. It's like everything could change. And when I left Afghanistan to France, the thing is that before publishing my book, I decided to finish the project with the last 5 photos of the same story from women of Afghanistan, but now not inside the country, but in exile. So I finished it with 5 women actress, musician, and dancer inside Paris. And but if you see even the photos, it doesn't have the same color, the same spirit, and the same story. But I saw that resistance, that resilience, that hope that I'm talking through my photo project in exile, far from Afghanistan. But I finished it, but it's not the same, not at all.
Yeah, I can imagine. And was it difficult to find the women in Afghanistan when you did the shoot, or did you had to fight for the images, or was it easy to find?
Yeah, we can say. Well, the thing is that when you talk about the conflict zone like Afghanistan, it is not easy to just choose a subject or choose as an issue that the men of that country have problem with. As we see today from Taliban, I cannot say we have the same during Republic, but the thing is that we had still like some restrictions, and it was not easy for me to go through the life of typical Afghan women and to capture them. So that's why I went through the life of women musicians, women artists, women activists, women actresses, filmmakers, because I knew that maybe as they were familiar with the camera and all these things, they gave me the permission to even publish their photos. But despite everything that I had, all these challenges, again, I remember I used to get a call from a brother, from a husband, and some crazy messages that how we dare you to share these pictures, or even some extremists, I can say, in a patriarchal society. They even couldn't see that you cover a woman with burqa and cigarette, or in the middle of a street with electric guitar. So even if it's in the Western look, a very crazy cliche photos, but I really fight and I really struggled and I suffered even for those little freedom signs in my photos. I can say to you that I remember in one of these shoots that you see the woman with the taxi, it was a huge traffic behind me, and everybody were just like going around and to just understand what a woman with a camera is doing there and why you're photo shooting a woman inside the car. So even the process of the shoot took kind of 4 hours for me to control the situation, to just set these people like like, guys, I'm just taking photos. Leave me alone for one moment, you know. So, but I mean, in that society, even before Taliban, it was not easy to face kind of things.
In such a difficult environment to work as an artist, how do you muster the courage to produce your work? Did you have a circle of friends of other artists that kind of nurtured you also, and that comforted you, or that you knew that there are some people that share a common vision, an idea of artistic freedom, that made it easier for you also to go on with your work?
Even kind of the motivation.
Yes.
Right? The thing is that the concept of home and Afghanistan was quite different for me. As I was born in Iran and I lived there, but unfortunately I could never be recognized as an Iranian because it's not by birth, and you have to have Iranian family and parents by blood that you become an Iranian. So I was the third generation that grew up in Iran and was born there. But the thing is that this identity crisis that I always had in my life, a very completely Iranized person, but with Afghan papers. So it hurts me a lot, and this was the real reason that I was always looking in my life that what does it mean to have an Afghan passport, and I don't know even where is Afghanistan. So that's why because of this identity crisis, I went back to discover home. So the thing is that even the life of women that I went through, it was quite different for me when I compare it with a woman who was born in Afghanistan, who grew up there. And I really was very strong in my concept in kind of the way that I was so young, and I remember I had also so many challenges with my family to leave the comfort zone and to put my life at risk, and also all those women in my photos at risk, and to go back to this kind of like a conflict zone. I mean, I just don't want to say that much dark. Kabul was quite different, you know. During the last years of Republic, we had these beautiful colors, beautiful life that were going on, and people were enjoying the little things, and they were trying to make hope, you know, to grow in every sectors. But of course, we had problems during the security, like regarding the security. I mean, I never forget that attacks to my students at Kabul University or many other things. But still, I was trying to keep my motivation even through a woman who is working in a bakery and making bread, or women in the mountains of Bamiyan, or talking to these women how to escape a mullah father to enjoy cinema and to just going to watch a movie, you know. When I saw that much suffering, so really in my case it was nothing, because I had my life in Tehran, I grew up there, but Kabul was another journey for me, you know. So yeah, I mean, I just tried to motivate myself to go through the simple things that I could see people in Kabul were enjoying that.
I would like to know from you, I mean, you already spoke about being kind of uprooted or something with this Iran, Afghanistan, divergence in a way. But I wonder what does it make to you to live really far from your culture in France and Europe? Did it affect your point of view about things? Did it reinforce you? Did it make you question things?
Of course, it did, and it's doing. Because imagine I was born in Iran, of course. We had freedom, but not that much. And Afghanistan, it was completely another concept. And now I moved, I mean, I didn't want to migrate, but exactly like the stories of my grandparents, I have been forced to leave home for the third time, you know, I mean, my grandparents, my parents, and that's me. And then, and I remember even this shock of life that in 15th of August, Taliban took over Kabul. And on 16 and 17, it was the two last day I was at home. And on 18, I left to the military side of the airport. And on 19 of August, French evacuated me from Kabul to Abu Dhabi and then to Paris. And even it took 1 week for me to accept that, okay, what happened? and why I'm here, you know, because whatever is in my mind, in my memories, it's the beautiful Kabul that I lived. I have no idea of the Taliban, like how was it even. But regarding my artistic approach, of course it did, because even if you see the last 5 photos I showed and I captured, I mean, it's so sad to say that, but I didn't find the colors in Paris, you know. And when you compare it with Kabul, of course, it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. But for me, it's exile, you know. For me, it's all these streets where with the memories of the fighting with the traumas, healing, just crying for a sad home, you know, and just just exile, I can say. Like, despite I got many support from French artists, French institutions, and not saving my life, but also saving my voice as an artist, because when you see people leave their countries and in exile, not many of them could keep their profession that they used to have in their countries. So for me, it was very, very sad, because I lost the source. I'm completely disconnected with Afghanistan, even with the Afghan society I had in Kabul, because all these women left to different countries, not in France, and very far. So I mean, in my artistic approach, in this case, of course, emotionally, but even like the women who I meet, I give you an example. I mean, I remember when I was in Jalalabad and I wanted to just capture a picture of a schoolgirl in one of these mountains. And I went through 3 persons to get the permission to take the woman's photo. And I just published it in one magazine. And among that also, like, I got some calls that you told us, like, you don't publish the full face. And I was like, but you let me to take the picture. So it's fine. And then in Paris, I have some crazy friends, and because of a practice, one of them called me, like, Fatima, what do you think if you take some naked pictures of me in these beautiful stairs, you know? So, and you can publish it everywhere you want, and please publish it, like, whenever you want. And she was like forcing me publish it. You know, I was like, you know, it's a big paradox in my life that, or even like when I live in Paris, when I see that how women are in the key positions, like a head of the residence that I'm is a woman, the mayor of Paris is a woman, the director of so many of these museums is a woman, and even in all around Europe, when I see that how women living their life. And I cannot ignore it that they fight for it, that they are here today. But the thing is that this equality that still, of course, is in the process of fighting for more rights. But when I compare it to Afghanistan, so it's a big distance and gap in between. And sometimes it's really, I feel lost in between. That who I am, you know. Getting back to background and living at the moment. So I can say that it's full of paradox in my life.
And you told us yesterday you waited till all the women left Afghanistan before you published the pictures. But your family is still in Iran?
Yes, they are.
And are they in danger about your work, or is it safe for your family?
I mean, for my family, I don't have that much famous family. Like, they are safe in Iran, and they never went back to Afghanistan after my grandparents left. So they're completely disconnected. But the thing is that I was the craziest part of the family that decided to go back. Yeah, and I hope there's no danger for them.
And there was not the option when you had to leave Kabul to go back to Iran. Of course, nowadays it's not an option at all, but back then it could have been, right?
Actually, to be honest with you, I wanted to go back to home, you know, I mean, like to my family. And the thing is that, imagine in that chaos and the crisis that happened, I was that much shocked that I didn't know even what I'm doing. And I just left with a backpack, with my camera, with my laptop, and just some hard externals, and my topak had it that is from my family's origin. And even I don't know why I took it, you know. So it was very crazy shock. And actually this evacuation also was a big mess. And I think the hardest part of my trauma is back to what happened in the airport. Because I remember I was in the list of 5-6 countries like Germany, UK, Italy, France, US, because in that time I had exhibition in September in New York City, and I also had the chance to go to US as well, but I also had Iran residency in my passport, and I had India and Turkey visa. So I mean, there were more options for me to live to wherever I want, And once I arrived at the military site, after passing the 6 checkpoints of Taliban, imagine, and it was my first experience to seeing Taliban as the real person inside my beloved city Kabul, So when I went to the airport, so the thing is that we were 6 friends, and we all stayed at the US line, and because it was by the visa or everything, so I just told them I just need a transit, and right after that I will try manage it. My father will manage it that I go back to Tehran, and they said yeah, but choose a line, and then they all stop in third country like Abu Dhabi, Doha, or Islamabad and Albania, and then after that maybe you can take out and leave it. So and I really don't remember that what I was doing. I just stayed at the US line, and in the middle of that I just saw the American troops, that it was very, very shameful and very heartbreaking that how you can do that with the people who lost their countries and just put this gas and just fire into their face and something like that. And right in that time, I told my friend that, guys, I don't want to go to US. If you want, because in that time I really felt betrayed from American and how they left Afghanistan to the hands of Taliban or whatever. So I don't want to make it more political, but the thing is that I didn't want to go to US in that time, and it made me so much far even, and from family. So I remember when I was there, I asked one of these troops to leave me to leave the line, and he just said some very crazy words to me and just pushed me back. And from the far, I was shouting, to any troops to just get me out of this American line. And I remember the Germany just passed, and I was like, Germany, and they didn't understand, And then UK, and I saw the flags, I was like, UK, and they didn't understand. And then Italian, and I was so crazy hopelessness, and I was like, guys, I don't know what should I do. I don't want to go to this country, and the thing is that even they don't let us to leave, and the thing is that it was the last evacuations. It was 8 p.m. and I had to stay till the tomorrow 5 a.m. and Taliban was just 10 minutes over there, and you couldn't trust anything. And I was confused that what should I do now? So the thing is that it was the last hope, and I just saw the last 3 French troops that they're passing. And I just shouted with all my energy that, France, artist, and they came back. And I said, who was the artist? I was like, yeah, it's me. And they just took me away. Wow. And it was so heartbreaking. And they took me to the French shelter, and I left to Paris. Oh.
What a story. I mean,
and we were 7 friends, and now we end up in different countries.
I have a question that maybe sounds weird to you, but did you ever wear a burqa? Because I think this makes something to you. Did you ever experience this? Were you forced to it, or did you do it just to experience it?
Yes, of course. I mean, I remember for my 2 assignments in Jalalabad in Kandahar, because it was a road trip, I wore burqa.
And does it make something to you to wear it?
I mean, I think I saved myself because, first of all, I was a woman. Second, and I was going to the extremist part of these provinces. And the other thing is that, as you know, this is a big conflict in Afghanistan. I was a Hazara, and I was going to a Pashtun area. So it could also make some problems. Even I remember I used to speak English, that they think that I'm a foreigner, international photographer, not a Hazara Afghan coming from Iran, So, yeah, I mean, just saving myself.
And how have you continued with your artistic career now living in France and looking into the future? How do you see yourself? Where are you going to shift your focus to, and what kind of projects would you like to work on in the future?
I mean, it's not easy because when as I told you, like this emotional connection for Afghanistan that I had, and I can call it home. And it was not just for a project that I went back to there. And it was a trauma that my parents exiled, and I didn't want to experience it for the third time, but it happened. So the thing is that now, of course, so many times it happens that I really get lost and I don't know what I'm doing and why I am in France. Where are my parents? Like many of these panicking things that happen, that it's normal when you leave a conflict zone to deal with life. But the other thing is that I think I cannot get out of it, but still I'm covering women. And the other project that I already started is the women in the Silk Road and in MENA region, that it will start from Central Asia, end up to North Africa. So now I'm in the start of my project in Silk Road to covering women with the same challenges, but very far from Afghanistan, and just going through the heritage that there is always a hand of women behind that.
And I imagine even though lots of your friends have left Afghanistan as well, you still have some contacts to people living in Afghanistan, in Kabul, or
I have actually my students, and it's so sad because my girls' students that I used to teach at Kabul University, they got stuck in Kabul, and still some of them are suffering there. And I had also some friends that they couldn't leave the country. So for men, I mean, of course, for everybody with this economic crisis, it's hell. But for women more than ever, because there's no life for women right now. Imagine they close the beauty salons even. There's no school, there's no work. Even in some provinces, they stop women to go to park and to get out of home when they have no work to do. So, yeah, I mean, for women, it's become more tough, the life under Taliban regime.
And it's not likely that there's going to be a change in the near future. How do you project, or what kind of future do you see for Afghanistan, like in the next couple of years looking?
I mean, to be honest, in the first year, I was so hopeful. I was even expecting that the international community at least do something, or for the women or something. I mean, this evacuation was a part of it, but even sometimes I not agree with that as well, because Afghanistan lost a huge human resource that could make a change. And even now, all left Afghanistan, how we can expect that something new will happen. And in another case, when after 20 years of investment, US investment and international community, now we are in the stage that get back to those terrorist Taliban and how they banned the life for women. So I can say that there's no hope, I think. And and the Taliban now in Afghanistan are not the Taliban of 1996. They're more smart. They know the power of PR. They know what is media. They all have Twitter accounts. They are still trying to negotiate with the world, to looking for recognition. So, I mean, they came, unfortunately, more powerful than 20 years ago. So it make it hard. And as I told you, the new generation who couldn't make anything, they left Afghanistan. So, yeah, I can say in my capacity that I think there's no hope.
I have a question to come back to photography. Maybe you spoke about your...
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. You spoke about your identity crisis and all this. So how does this translate in your pictures? What means do you use? What kind of technique or whatever approach do you use to translate this into something visual?
Yeah, I mean, in different series, I mean, I worked on different works. I mean, the first picture that you see, the woman with burqa, with cigarette, it captured in Tehran, but I remember that I asked one of my friends to bring burqa to Tehran, and I mean, this this paradox is that the location is different, or the woman with burqa on bicycle, it's in north of Iran, you know. And the other picture that there is a girl inside Kabul with the electric guitar, like we had the same story, you know. I mean, or the other woman, the last shoot that I had with the yellow textile in that. I mean, you see a Pashtun woman with a Hazara woman, you know. I mean, I just tried to bring this discrimination that I always had in my life, not just as an Afghan in Iran, but also as a Hazara in Afghanistan, you know. And also this identity crisis as well, or these different paradoxes and different jumping that into different culture, and I can say cultural displacement. Like sometimes in the women who I photograph, sometimes in a textile, sometimes in the location, sometimes with a sign. But I just tried it. And that's why the last photo of my book is also a self-portrait of me with my topak. I could see myself in all these women who I photograph.
And you showed your pictures in New York and in France. And would you like to tell a little bit about your exhibitions?
It's nice. I mean, of course, I enjoy to, as much as I can, talk about women of Afghanistan, and not just about my photos, also like to give awareness and at least to keep talking a little about voiceless women inside the country and how is the situation right now, and to just like trying to advocate for them. Not in the capacity of an activist, but also as an artist, you know. But the thing is that for me, before Fall of Kabul, it had a different taste, you know, because I remember after my exhibition, I used to go back home to Kabul and again to hang out with these women and ready for the other shoot and walking the streets of Kabul with these women. But now it's more heartbreaking for me, and I remember the first time when I saw my pictures in Legacy, I cried, you know, because these big formats and big files, and it was so real for me. And it happened right after I lost all those hopes and everything, and all these women left Afghanistan. There is no reality in these pictures, you know. So now it's so hard for me to talk about the beauty, hope, beautiful women, like the colors, the hope. Let's be honest, that it doesn't it doesn't exist now. I mean, there is no life like the Kabul that I lived right now. So sometimes it makes me more emotional when I compare the situation, and it was just 2 years ago. Yes,
it's already a documentation of the past in a way in your work now. I mean, that's very sad in a way to see it that way, but that's what you created in a way without wanting it. And do you follow up on these women, and do you still keep contact with them? You said they are spread all over the world.
Yeah, for sure. I'm in contact with many of them because, as I told you, like once I started this project, it was so challenging. And even once I arrived in Europe, I mean, I remember I had some interviews and they published a picture of a woman that her brother arrested by Taliban. So she was just taking all her pictures, and I just messaged all my galleries that please take out of the picture of this girl. Like, again, thank God, like the Taliban just released her brother and again published the photo, you know. I mean, like many crazy challenges. But of course, regarding their security, I have to, it's not security, but I mean, I had very emotional and very, very friendly, very sisterhood kind of relation with these women, you know. I mean, it doesn't happen that I just saw a woman in the movie and I just call her and I was like, can I take your photo one day, come to the street, and that's all. No, not at all. I mean, I spent time with these women for months and months, and then I tried to capture their photos in a very friendly sisterhood way, not giving them the feeling of being a subject for my photos.
I'd like to ask you something about your journey into photography. I read that you actually wanted to become a painter when you were 14 years.
I used to be a painter, but I wanted to be, I didn't want, my parents wanted me to be an engineer.
Yeah, and you studied
I studied
engineering?
industrial engineering, unfortunately.
Okay. And then you turned to photography. What was it about photography that got you hooked?
I mean, I always liked the speed, you know. I to see the result of my work very fast. That's why I couldn't stay in paintings because it took a lot of time. So, yeah, it's so crazy. But I mean, it was very also, I mean, crazy for me to study industrial engineering, and then a big challenge that, I mean, in Afghan typical family, they don't understand that you can also be someone through photography. But the thing is that, I mean, they always thought that you have to be a lawyer or doctor or an engineer. And there's no other way.
What does your family think of you now or these days? Have they ever...
After many years of... I mean, they were always supporting me, really, especially my father. But... I mean, they actually, even this one was because I was their, like, the first daughter. So they wanted for make a bright future for me, but they didn't know that I don't like it. You know, I mean, I suffered a lot during the industrial engineering because I couldn't be an engineer. And then when I shifted to photography, it was so crazy because all my friends and classmates went to study master degrees and they found job. And I was also like a first year of bachelor of photography again, you know. So it was crazy. But yeah, today I hope they are proud, maybe.
Yes.
Coming back to your parents, so they are living in Iran, and Iran has changed a lot during the last year, of course. So what's your opinion? It's not photography, sorry, it's more political. But what are your expectations for Iran?
I mean, yeah, my family is there. My two little sisters are there. They are studying. One of them is musician. And she's singing in a society that the voice of women is forbidden. And it's quite crazy, but after all, of course, before of this, I mean, they're struggling, and the life of my parents as Afghan refugees there were always complicated, you know. And I cannot say that they were not affected by all these things, but... I mean, when I compare it with all the things that they had in life and their challenges, I'm sure they face it and they can pass it again. But I mean, we have other challenges that it can take them. I mean, it's more deeper and more serious for them than this protest that happened among Iranians, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, imagine like it's my first time to say it in a podcast or any public place. But the thing is that imagine my parents lived in Iran over 4 decades, and even our houses, our car is not registered under my father's name because he's not Iranian, and it's also registered by an Iranian. And in the court, they just said something that it's for like an Afghan person here, you know. And the thing is that my sisters also they had many competitions globally, but in the middle of the way they cut their name because they were not Iranian, you know. But they are Iranian because my little sister, she's completely disconnected with Afghanistan, you know. She's Iranian, completely Iranian. Yeah. She even doesn't have any Afghan friend. And she doesn't know even how to speak in the Dari, in the accent. But at the end of the day, she has an Afghan passport, and they just give her the rights as an Afghan. Even she didn't live her life as an Afghan, you know. She never saw Daikundi. She never saw these things that she has to go through. But I mean, imagine when you have these challenges. So. Fighting for having hijab or not having hijab can be very less for my parents.
So one of the images in the exhibition is your sister.
Yes.
And it's, for me, it's one of the most striking portraits because she has blue eyes. Yes. And blonde hair.
Yes.
And it's completely disturbing at the first sight.
Exactly.
So it's one of your younger sisters. Or?
Yes, my second sister, and this is also the answer to your question as well, because Sima, my sister, like she studied chemistry, master of chemistry in Iran, and when she came to Kabul to visit me and like many times, and she went also to Daikundi, the origin of my parents, for the first time, as I imagine, as a Tehran-born woman, and she was also completely Iranized. But the thing is that this is the contrast between my life as well, She's completely Iranized. My mother, my parents, as they grew up in Iran, they have no problem if she make her hair blonde, and she has a tattoo as well. But in Afghanistan, she wear a very old scarf, this is also like this contrast between my life as well. I remember when I went back to Kabul, my aunt, that she also grew up in Kabul, she was completely very Afghan woman, typical Afghan woman. And she said like, how your father let you to travel and to come and live alone in Kabul, And in the another side, I was working with United Nations for helping other Afghan women to learn photography. I was like, so who am I? I am this with this capacity, or I am that I even have to take care of my clothing in front of my aunt, So this paradox that I'm talking to you about, it's also like in my photos that I just wanted to have my sister also in one of the photos, because she faced all these rights that she had in Iran as a Hazara Afghan refugee, but when she came to Kabul to Daikundi, she was completely a stranger because she's Iranized. She's completely out of this concept, She has blonde hair, tattoo, blue eyes with beautiful makeup. It's quite different.
Yeah.
She's not a woman from Daikundi, but they recognize her as a Hazara woman. So this crazy crisis, I can say, or paradoxes exist in our life.
Okay, thank you.
Between two cultures.
Yeah, you said that you're teaching photography, and I wonder what role do you give to art in general for these women? Would that be something that you would transmit as a message, try to express yourself even if you're locked up at home, and try to work on your personality maybe in your small room, and I don't know, is this the kind of thing you pass on also?
All of us had many other also issues like restrictions, everything. But if I want to compare it with the women inside Afghanistan, especially right now, so it's completely different journey, And still I'm in contact with some of my students inside Kabul University and some other women who I know, like from Herat University and from other places. And I'm in contact with them sometimes through a workshop, and I have some classes for them. But again, let's accept it. It's also so hard because they don't have any access to camera, and sometimes there is electricity problem, sometimes internet problem. They cannot get out of home and to take photos. And how long you can just limit your works to your just room or whatever, So yeah, it's not easy to face these problems. But I had also this problem in my capacity, but in another word, from a discrimination in Iran as an Afghan woman, in Afghanistan as a Hazara woman. I had also a piece that I exhibited just 6 months ago that I just talked about these labels, that I carried in my life since I was born. I was in Iran. I was born in Iran, but they called me Afghan refugee, But I didn't migrate from any country to your country, that I'm a refugee. And even I didn't have the rights of the refugees, because I'm in refugee in France now, but I have some rights at least, but not just 1 year, and for 20 years, just stamps in my passport that you can stay 1 year more to Iran, you can stay 1 more year in Iran, And then right after or a displaced something they called us in Persian, and then right after I left to Afghanistan, they were like, yeah, like a crazy stage diaspora who want to show us she's Afghan, but you are not Afghan enough Afghan, and also you are Hazara, you cannot speak that much because you are a minority, And then right after I left to France, and now I'm artist in exile, Afghan refugee, Afghan woman who left Afghanistan, Afghan evacuees, you know, like it's all about their labels. And now I'm with a status that I also like exhibited my status in my exhibition as well. That officially I don't belong to anywhere, you know. I have no Afghan passport anymore. I have no French passport, of course. And I'm in between. And I could never have Iranian passport. So what is my status? You know? So I don't want to limit my identity into these things. And for me, being a woman is everything that I could say, first of all, and at the end. But but I lived my life through labels and with many labels and still many labels.
Yeah, I think that the strength of your photos is also that we have labels in our heads, we have stereotypes, and if we think about a woman in Afghanistan, I have a certain image because I saw images before. And I think you're very good at breaking up this labeling, this stereotype, because your photos, like the woman with a cigarette, it just doesn't make sense in my head, you know. This is not happening in my head. So you show me, yes, it is, or it was happening, and we hope that it will happen soon again.
It's all the imaginations, yeah. And also like the reality that I told you, these paradoxes, you know. I have my freedom now in Paris, in France. Before that in Kabul, I said like I could live my life. But when I compare it with because I came from an Afghan background, even in my mother's mindset or my aunts or the Afghan society. So maybe, for them, it quite have another face, you know, even like, I remember some of these people like 2 men came to my exhibition in Paris and they were like, okay, where's your scarf? You just arrived 2 weeks ago. I was like, yes, but in Kabul I didn't have hijab in Kabul University, you know. So there are still some people who just want to remind you and you put you in their own boxes that they made. So it's full of paradoxes. You don't know who I am, guys. What should I do? So, yeah,
did you ever take photos of men?
Not yet.
Might be interesting.
For my new project, yes. There is a man in the photo with me that I'm behind a bicycle that is also like a son of Kabul in Paris streets. Of course, I captured my father and my friends, but not so seriously. Yes. No, man.
Well, thank you very much,
Fatimah.
So it's been fascinating talking to you about your projects and situation of women in Afghanistan, which is now I don't know how to end this, but you said it yourself that for the next couple of years you don't see that much hope that something's going to change, but hopefully through work like yours and putting attention to that the situation is eventually going to improve. But
of course, I hope the world never at least forget the women inside Afghanistan.
Well,
I'm sure you're contributing a lot to that. That's your job now, to not to forget the women in Afghanistan.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.